Have you ever caught yourself doing the exact thing you promised? You vow yourself that you would never do. Maybe it was losing your temper again or returning to an old habit. Maybe it was words that you spoke that you wish you could take back. Perhaps you finished the day thinking, why am I still struggling with this? That frustration, that inner conflict that we all have is exactly where Romans 7 takes us. Paul writes this, "For I do not understand my own actions. For I do not do what I want to do, but I do the very thing I hate." These words are striking because this is not the language of someone who doesn't care about holiness. This is the language, this is the talk and the determination of someone who cares about holiness. Throughout Romans chapter 7, Paul's been explaining that God's law is good, it's holy. And the problem is not God's command. The problem is what sin has done to us. And now Paul pulls back the curtain. He describes the painful reality that every believer knows all too well, that there is a war within us. Notice the tension. Paul says things like, I want, I hate, I agree. Now, these are not the words of someone indifferent toward God. These are the words of someone whose heart has been awakened and awakened to love what is good, but who still experiences the ongoing presence of sin. Friends, sin is no longer reigning, but is still resisting in those that know Christ. And so this passage reminds us of two important truths. First, if you feel this struggle, you're not alone. Many believers assume that ongoing conflict in our lives, inward life, means spiritual failure. But in many ways, the conflict itself reveals that God is at work in us, because dead hearts don't fight sin. And the second is your struggle is real, but it is not your identity. Paul says it is no longer I who do it, but sin that dwells in me. Now, let's be clear, he's not excusing sin, but he's distinguishing between those who are in Christ and those that still live within under the grip of sin apart from Christ. So what do we do when we experience this war? We have to keep fighting, but we also have to keep repenting, and we also must keep returning to Christ. You see, Romans 7 reminds us of something deeply encouraging. The presence of struggle does not mean the absence of grace. Sometimes the strongest evidence that God is working in us, that God is changing us, is that we can no longer make peace with the sin that we once ignored. So friends, acknowledge, if you know Christ, acknowledge this war within you, and ever and always come back to Jesus, for he is faithful and he is good. I'll see you next time.